All right, so in this video, I'm going to move away kind of from the normal stuff that I do. I know I post most of my content's based around Laravel and a little bit of Vue.js, things like that. But in this one, what I'm going to do is just as kind of a fun project. Well, fun. I don't know how you define fun, but a project maybe that a beginner could do um, with just managing forms. So we'll create a rental property application form, a simple version of one. We'll do it using Bootstrap. We're not going to do any custom CSS or anything. And it's going to look like you see here with this little app that I have on the go. And what we'll end up doing with this form is we'll end up submitting it and sending it to whoever by email. So you might have one central place that manages applications. We can send it there. So again, this is very simple. It's mostly to get somebody who's fairly new to programming comfortable with building out forms using a straightforward CSS framework like Bootstrap on there. Now the backend, we're going to use Node.js. I do some of my projects, like a lot of my APIs, I do in Node.js. So I like it because it's very quick and easy to get up and running. And then you have very very simple with the package management and whatnot as we build stuff out. So basically this is what it looks like. You can go over here to properties. You'll see a list of properties that you can add. This would be one property that the company is renting out. You can say view property. We have this carousel here. We only have one image in it, but I'll show you where you could add more images to it. A title, and the rest is basically this little application all the way down. So again, this is very simple, beginner friendly. If you're wondering about things like, well, what do I use in terms of a code editor? How do I install Node? You can very easily do a search for that. And in future videos, I will also put a link down to a future video that I'll make that will show you how to, how to set up a basic dev environment with Node.js in there. Okay, so without further ado, we will basically start this particular project. So I'm just going to close out of what I have here where it's being served up currently. I'll bring over my folder, and we'll start by navigating to a folder that you intend to use. In this case, I have rental applications. I'm just going to create a new folder, and we'll just call it rental apps in this case. And now I'm going to right click. I'm going to open this up with Visual Studio Code. I use VS Code for most of my projects just because, between the maintenance I do on a lot of Python and Node.js projects and the projects I do in Laravel, I find it's a great application. So, okay, so we have our code editor here. I'm just going to increase the font size so you guys can see a little better. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the command prompt. I do it by clicking on Control on my keyboard with the little squiggly line that's just below the escape key. And otherwise, I believe you can do with edit. No. Where is that now? Terminal. So you go down here to view in terminal, and then you can pull up your terminal. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go npm init -y just to say yes to everything. Okay, that's great. So now that's set up. We have a package.json. And what we need to do in here first is we need to download a few packages using npm. So the first package that we're going to bring in is going to be Express. So we'll say npm install express --save. And these are basically, it's going to load it into a special node modules folder that's created up here. And this has a whole bunch of little tools that we can plug into. It's a library that we can plug into to serve up everything that we need to serve up here. So we also need to, we won't download it now. We'll kind of do it little by little here. So I'm going to create an app.js file in my main directory structure here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull in Express. I'm going to require that here. And you can see it should auto-populate for me. So that works in there. Now what we'll do is we'll create another variable. We'll call this one app. and that's just going to equal express in this case. Now we can do other things like serve this up on a port, things like that. So I'm going to go const port in here. I'm going to use port 3000 is what we're going to serve it up on. So what that's going to look like is it's going to look like localhost, and then in your browser 3000. So that's what you'll go to there. Now I'm going to do a couple other little housekeeping things. So we'll say app.use. We're going to need a place to serve up our, well, I'll do it as I get to it actually. I won't do it all in one shot. But now what we can do is we can actually serve up our application. We can actually serve up our application in here. So let's go, we'll listen on a particular port. And we've already assigned that variable, so that's the port 3000. And then what we need to do is we'll just console log that it's being served up, right? I may as well say listening on port 3000. Now, if I go down here and I go node app.js, you can see we get this. Now, I'm not going to, there we go. Okay, I apologize, I have a little bit of a cold here. You probably hear it in my voice. If you hear my audio go silent for a second, it's probably because I'm just coughing. So, at any rate, it's listening on port 3000. Now, the other thing we're going to do here is we're going to give ourselves an endpoint to work from. So, right now we have port 3000, and then anything else that we serve up after this, we're going to put those endpoints in. So, we do that by going app.get. This is a simple GET request, so this is something that you're going to put in your browser. / we'll use some okay, and we're just going to return something really, really simple. So we might say response dot send hello. So we should see some text written out if we actually go there. So let's go ahead. We'll serve up node app.js one more time here. I'm going to come back out here and let's see how we look. Okay, perfect. So you can see up here, very small writing, that actually says hello. We'll come out of responsive in here. Okay, but you can see that we're serving that up there. So our endpoint's working. If we try to do another one like this is an endpoint, we're going to throw an error. Okay, cannot get this is an endpoint because it doesn't exist. We haven't served it up in there. So okay, so we know we're serving it up. That's awesome so far. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to add some serve up some files, like some HTML files, things like that. So let's do that next. Now it's very simple to serve up a file. In this case, we could just go like send file and then give the location from within our structure here as to where that file is. But what I'm going to utilize is I'm actually going to utilize handlebars.js, which if you watched any of my Laravel videos, for example, it's basically what we use to insert variables that we provided or template things out. Kind of think of blade or the two squiggly brackets that we put in there. So all right, so to bring in express handlebars, what we're going to do is I'm just going to close that out. I go Control C to stop that in my terminal, and let me just pull this up a little bit. Okay, that's great. Awesome. So we're going to have to go, we'll say npm install express-handlebars. So that's going to install that for us. Great, that's done. Now what we can do is we can actually bring it in up here. So we'll say const, you could say handlebars or yeah, handlebars works fine. Handlebars, which equals require express. You can see it auto-populates for us down there. Otherwise, express handlebars is what you'll put in there. Okay, great. Now what we need to do is we need to set this up as our templating engine. So templating engine is just going to allow us to insert dynamic content into various pages that are going to get served up on the web server. So we'll go app.set. We'll say view engine, and that's going to be HBS, or short for handlebars. You could also put handlebars in there, that would work the same. We're going to do some add in a few little configuration options in here. So app.engine, HBS, and we're going to serve this up. And we'll say handlebars. And we've got some configuration options in here. So we need to specify where our layouts directory is going to be. So I'll do that here. Name, and then on top of that we need to go views/layouts. Okay, and you'll see where that folder ends up being. Extension name, HBS, and the default layout, which is going to basically be a file in there that everything is going to be built on. Is like that. Okay, great. So default layout. So now how we build this out is we will go. I'll create a file first of all. Let's see. How should I do this? Okay. So we'll create the index file within the views layouts. So I'll go new file up here, and it will be views/layouts. /index.hbs in there. Okay, so we have our first little handlebars one. You see the nice little icon in there for it down there. So back to our app page in here. And so now basically any other views or partials that we send through will show up in there. So we'll go over to this index file. I do the exclamation mark using VS Code, then I push tab or enter, and then it automatically populates this for us. So right here, we'll call this one rental applications is what we'll name the apps, because I'm not that creative. And we'll put in here, we just need to have a place for our body. So this is basically where the dynamic content is going to get placed. And then in here, we can do things like we could add a partial as a navigation bar, so on and so forth. What we're going to do, though, is we won't put in the nav bar yet. What we can do here, though, is we can actually serve up, we can render one of our layouts. So let's go ahead and we will render out maybe just the main page in this case. So we'll say index, okay, app. Index. So if they come to the / like you saw there, we'll just go render, and in here we're going to need to pass through what it is, what page we're actually rendering. So in this case, it's going to be the main file, which we haven't created yet, but we will. And we'll pass through some options in here. We'll say layout is going to be the index file. So basically, what we have inserted in here it gets put into our default layout file up there, right where you see, right where it says index, right where you see here. That's where it's going to get inserted. So let's go ahead and we'll just add some. We'll just create a simple file here, which I'll call main.js.handlebars. So HBS in there. I don't know why is that. This under views. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you see it's supposed to be in the views folder, not in the layouts folder itself to make that work. So let's just say, all right, this is some content here. That way. Now let's go back out to our main page. Click like this. Oh, sorry, you know what? Because we have we actually have to serve this up again. So node app.js in there. Okay, let's give that. Okay, perfect. So you can see in here now that we're serving that up again, there's some content here. We're going to install one other item in here. It's called Nodemon. We'll say npm install -g Nodemon, and you'll see here that it enables us to basically any time we save, make a change to our file, it will automatically update, and then it'll serve that change up for us. So what we're going to do is we'll go over to the package.json, and in package.json, well, first of all, we do need to show that it goes into the app file. That's our main file in there. And we'll create a dev directive in here, and it'll just be nodemon app.js. Okay. Now, down here, all I do is I go I go npm run dev. Okay, perfect. So now you see in here, if I make a change to this, I'll just go space and then save. You can see everything restarts due to the changes that we made. Maybe you've used this on the front end before, when you're compiling your CSS, things like that. Same idea as far as recompiling the assets go when you're watching them. So that's great. Okay, so we'll complete the index.hps one, which is basically just rendering an HTML page for us. We'll go to get Bootstrap. We're going to use Bootstrap 5 in here, and we're just going to download the CDN, not download, sorry, we're going to reference the CDN. So I'll copy this one for the CSS. I think we only need the CSS. I don't think I had anything else figured in there for us. So, okay. So we'll just paste that there. And now we can use some of the pre-built components, and it'll just help to make everything look nice, right? So let's go ahead. Let's get a navigation bar in here. So we'll go up to docs, components, and navbar, and we'll come down here. This looks large and cumbersome, but in reality, we're going to cut a lot of it out. So we could do a couple of things in here. One, I could create a partials folder and then reference the navbar, which is typically what you're going to do in larger applications. A small application like this, we don't really need to do it, but I think it would be better if we did. So we'll go to layouts. I'm just going to go views, partials, and we'll say partials /navbar.hps. Okay. And we have that copied and pasted in there in our navbar. Let's rip out a bunch of this stuff that we don't need. We don't need any drop downs. We'll come down here to the UL. Okay, perfect. And we'll rip out form in there. I'm just going to do a little bit of formatting, make this look a little prettier. Let's see here. So let's span like that. And then like this. Okay, so this would be our home. Let's take us home. We'll put rental application. And what else do we need to do in here? This one will also take us home as well. Okay, so that takes us home. Let's get a look at what this looks like now. And you can see here we have our rental application. So just back up a second here. Again, this is our main templating file. Everything gets inserted into this file. The body, that'll get passed through from here when we use the render method. So this references main, right, in here. And the navbar, this here with navbar references our partials navbar.hps. So we're happy with that. So first thing I want to do, I'm just going to copy this. We'll paste this down here. and we'll go properties. So we're going to create a properties page that we can go to. And we'll just say / properties on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down to our mobile view. Okay. And if you're used to using Chrome, I use Chrome for the most part. You can select kind of your device size. iPhone 5 is probably the smallest phone you're going to run into now in terms of mobile phones. Okay, so this here, because we're in mobile version, when I click on this, it doesn't work because I haven't included the JavaScript file in there. So let's go ahead and we'll pull that in. We'll have to go back to this page here, and we'll just copy where our JS is being served up in there. Okay, now we'll go back to index, and we'll copy and paste that in. Okay, so now we have our JavaScript in there for that to work. Actually, you know what? I think I don't think it says defer or anything, but we should actually load our JavaScript at the end of there. Okay, let's go back to our view up here, and now we click on it and we can see, okay, we have home, and then we can click on here, we can see have properties, but we're throwing an error because properties doesn't exist as far as an endpoint goes. So let's go back to our app.js in here, and we're going to what I like to do with my applications is I like to break it out into, pardon me, I like to break it out, my route files based on the extension. So you might have a whole bunch at this first level, for example, just where it says / and then properties, but properties, we might have this, and then we might put, as you can see up here already, yellow gold building. This was auto-populating from a template I did. So at any rate, we kind of want all of these to be served up from their own file that way. All right. So let's go back to our editor here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in from Express. I'm going to pull in a router. Actually, I'm going to create a router file, I think. So in this case, we'll call this properties router. And just think about this is like we're just dividing up our various routes into different files. So in this case, I'll say / and I'll create a folder with routers in it, and we'll just call this one properties.js in there. I probably don't have to do JS, it's the extension. Okay, so you can see we threw an error because, of course, we don't have that file in there right now. But let's go ahead, we'll create that file. So we'll go routers / properties.js in there. Okay, great. Now what we do need to do here is we need to export this module. And we're just going to basically export router in there. And we have to bring in, of course, again express. So we'll go const express equals require express. And we need to import router in here. So this one's going to be new express dot router, like so. Okay, great. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and we can start building out our additional properties specific routes. So in this case, it'll be router dot get, and we'll say properties in here, and let's go request response in there. Oops. Okay. And from here we can render basically another template. So in this case, for properties, we can just render out like a properties page. So so we'll do it in the same folder here because it goes along this within this level of what do you want to call that, of files of the URL itself. So we'll render this and we'll call this one properties. So it'll be properties.hbs. And we'll put in here, we're going to use the layout that we're going to use in this case is going to be index as our main layout file. Okay. If I refresh this, okay, it doesn't throw an error, but we'll go ahead, we'll create this file, properties.hbs, okay, and this will be where our properties are shown. Okay, now let's go back out to our page here, we'll refresh. Okay, let me see what's going on here. Why is that not showing? To app. Oh, because we're not using the router here. So this one here, properties router, we actually have to use it. So we'll go app.use and we'll say properties router. Like so. Okay, let's go back, see if that works for us. No, we're still having issues. Alright, sorry about that. Let's see here. Sorry, I got a cough from. Alright, sorry about that. Okay. Properties here. Might be missing a forward slash. Okay, there we go. So that was my issue. So you can see here, this will be where our properties are shown. So let's go ahead and we'll pull in some other components from Bootstrap to get that done. So first of all, I'm just going to create some nice spacing, things like that, in this particular file. So we'll pre-populate some divs with some classes in there. So this one here is a container class, and if you're wondering how I'm doing that in VS Code, where I'm extending it, if it's a class, I start it with a dot. If it's an ID, I start it with this. In this case, we're only going to use classes, and then I put in the name of my class, and then I push tab or enter in there. Okay, so we have container here. I'm going to create a row just to help space our stuff nicely, and when we actually add additional items in there, we can do that. So first of all, I want to give it some margin on the top of 3. I'll explain what happens when we actually load the page. You'll see what those things are. So, and then justify content center. And just so it looks good in a number of views, every time, if you remember from the beginning, every time I pull up that page, they're going to lay out as a row, but it'll look good in a small screen and a big screen. So in here we need to create a column class. If it's a small column, then we want 2 of them. Sorry, if it's a small screen width, I want 2 of them side by side. If it's a medium size, then I want to do 3 of them side by side before it wraps onto the next line. And then if it's large, I want 4 side by side. G-3. Okay. Breaks down to 12. To learn more about Bootstrap, I'll probably put out some more videos to show you at least how I use it in my particular workflow. So now we'll go back to the Bootstrap page, and we'll pull up a Bootstrap card. So we'll go down to components in here, card. All right, and we'll pull out this card. So we can just copy this right here. Okay. I'm going to go like this. And just start to format this a little nicer this way. I'm going to get rid of where it says width, 18 rem. And I'm going to add on card body a class of text-center. And this is just going to, instead of showing all the text off to this side, it's going to show the text all being centered, including our button. So in this case, we'll say view property, and I can leave this alone, but here we'll say yellow brick, yellow gold building. This will be the name of our building. And then in here, I'll go / properties, yellow gold building. Okay. Now we don't have an image in here yet, so it's not going to look that great. We'll find an image for it here online, like you saw, and then we'll have that there. Now, if I go and I click responsive, you're going to see, depending on what screen size it is, so up to small, it's going to be one row. When it goes bigger than that, obviously, the card's more or less staying the same size. If there's more in here, these would all center. They'd be side by side, and based upon how big the screen is, it would be fitting one or the other in there. Okay, so let's go find a nice placeholder image of a building. So, all right. So if you come over here to placeimg.com, this is where we'll take our placeholder image from. So you just come down here, we'll copy this, we'll bring this back to our application, and we'll put it up here in the source. Sort of. All right, and then instead of any, we'll put in here architecture instead. Okay. Let's go back out here to rental applications. Okay. Every time we refresh, you can see that it's a different one in there. So different image, but we do want the image of a building. So it should say height and category. Arc, sorry. So arc, it needs to be arc, not architecture. So let's go ahead, put arc in there. All right, come in here. And you can see now we have buildings, more or less. Okay, great. So this one's done. You can put in a fixed image in there, of course, if you stored it on your server, your computer. You just reference it from there. Okay, so now we'll click on View Property, and you can see we're brought up with another error because we haven't created the yellow gold building as an extension in there. So let's go ahead. Let's do that. We'll go back to Properties. We'll create another route. This will be a get route, and it'll be Properties / yellow - gold - building. And again, request, response, and we'll say response.render in here. And then what we're going to render will be we'll say properties / I guess we just go properties / yellow gold building. All right, we'll pass through some parameters in here. The layout, of course, is going to be index. Don't need to pass through any other parameters or variables here yet, though we will in the future. So now we actually have to create properties yellow gold building in there. So we'll go down views, we'll create a file. I'll say new file will be properties yellow gold building .hbs in there. Okay, great. So now basically we'll say this is the yellow gold building. So now, and I'll refresh that, or I'll save that. So now when we come in here and we click refresh, you can see this is the yellow gold building. So let's go ahead and add some more. Well, first of all, we'll add kind of a carousel from Bootstrap. So not this one, but this one. This will give us the ability to add additional images. For now, we're just going to leave it as the one image. Well, actually, we could load multiple in there since we're serving it up from another source. We're not storing anything on our servers. So I'll go create a container class in here. I'll go ahead and I'll paste our carousel stuff. All right. And then I guess I need to go like this. All right. Now we only have one image. Well, let's say two images for now. Okay. Right on. Okay, what else do we want to do in here? So let's go back to our properties page. We'll just copy this, Control C, and Control V. We'll do Control V again in here. And this should work for us fine now. So let's go back to our page. Great. Okay. Let's see if we actually refresh it, if it gives us... Okay, so it always gives us basically the same image over and over. And that's okay. I mean, we could put another thing in here, like we could say any. Okay, there you go. So we got these two images, which would be representative of our building in there. So now what we need to do is display some details about it. So in this case, we'll make things fairly simple. Let's go back to our code editor here. This is our container. And here, some notes. Okay. So first of all, I want to leave a little bit of spacing between our image and what's going to be in these containers. Pardon me. All right, and then we'll add an h1 tag with a class of text-center to make that work. And then this will basically be the yellow gold building in there. P again with text-center. Okay, and we'll just put in some lorem ipsum. So to do that in VS Code, you just type in lorem, you push tab, and you got some fake content in there. Okay. Now we're going to create, so let's take a look at how that looks. Great. Okay, so you can see in here, great, you know, it's not that bad looking for an unfinished product, but the yellow gold building, we have some information about it. You can put subheadings in here, explain what's in there. But at the bottom, we want to put in an actual form. So let's go ahead and we'll say fill out an application. So with an h3 tag, we'll say text-center. All right, and we'll just say fill out an application. And this is where, you know, really the crux, most of our work is going to go into, probably the most important thing that we're going to build, because it's stuff like this that handles the conversions, right? So let's create another container here. I'm going to give it a background of light, which is just going to give us a very, very light gray in the back, and we'll create some padding here, which I'll show you what the padding on that is. So BG light. Let's actually add some content in here. So we're going to add a form in here at some point. For now, we'll just go hashtag in there. The method is going to be a post method, which basically would be like returning back to this page for now, but at any rate. Okay, so form. We'll start adding some Bootstrap classes in here. Form group, label, and we're going to give the label a class of h6, and you'll see what that does. Okay, so we'll say for now, well, we'll say first name. We'll just get them to give their whole name in this case, and we'll say input.form-control, and this is all shorthand. You can see everything I did there extended it to this. If you're not comfortable with the shorthand or it's going a little too fast, then just make sure you print this out in its entirety here. Okay, so let's go take a look at our form and how it looks so far. Okay, great. So it's not that bad looking in here. Some things we'll note here, the padding, that's basically the gray between the form here and the top of the name all the way around. So it gives us some nice little spacing in there. If I went P-5, you'd see even more space in there. If I did P-1, you'd see a minimal amount of padding in there. So, okay, but for now, this is looking fine. So let's go ahead. We'll add some other relevant information about an application. So this is something where you could skip to the end if you already know how to do this. If you already know how to do this part. If you don't know how to do this part, then watch, get some practice as I go and I manually code it in here. So, okay. Right, so we got name. We're going to have to add, there's a number of things we're going to have to add in here, like date of birth, current residence, previous residence, somebody else's contact information, so on and so forth. So just to speed things up, I am going to copy and paste a lot of what I've done here already. Okay, and let's see here. Great. So in here, this one's going to be date of birth. And in here, we will type in date of birth. If you don't know what this name property actually does, you will, but this is basically how we identify the data in there. So, all right, name, date of birth, probably social security number in there. SSN. Phone number for the individual. Down here we'll say phone. Current. Then probably want to add some information about their current residence. So we'll use an H5 tag with text-center, and I'll probably create a little margin on the top there as well. And we'll say current residence, current place they live. And in there, we'll probably want to do like current address. All right. Current address. Then your standard stuff like city, state, zip code, stuff like that. So city, state. Zip code. We'll want to find out do they rent or own. And here we'll actually use a different type of form field, and that will be a drop down. And we'll give this a name of rent_own. Don't need the ID right now for that. I'll go option, and for the first value we'll say they rent. And then for the second value we'll say, do they own. All right, we're going to want to know things in here like, what do they pay per month, whether it's a mortgage or something else. 6 in there. So in here we'll do like a monthly payment on this particular item. And we'll say input.form-control. And we want this to be a type of number. We don't want them to pass through any other value in here. And then we'll say name is going to be monthly payment. Okay. Add some more ones in here. So now we want to know, well, how long have they been at this residence? So to do that, we'll do something a little bit differently here, but we'll go form-group to give us our same kind of container. We'll say label.h-6, and we'll ask the question, all right, how long at residence? All right, create a row, and then we'll do a column. So it'll be basically two columns on the screen. And then for this one, we'll put label, again, .h-6. And we'll put years. And we'll say input type equals number. And we probably want to limit how many they can actually put in there. So if it's years, we'll just say 40 years in this case. And then this one is going to have a name of years at residence. Okay, great. And we'll do another one here. And we'll say months. And we'll say months at residence. And we'll say 11. I'm going to save this for now. Let's go back to our page here. We'll click on refresh. Okay, fill out an application. Looks like we're missing some classes in here. Okay. Okay. I'm back here. No, sorry, I have to save this first. All right, great. So years, and then months. But why type number, input type number, max 11, max 40? Okay. All right, sounds good. Now that we've done that, actually, we need probably to do the previous residence. So again, we'll do an h5 tag with a class of text-center and a margin top of 3. And we'll say previous residence in here. And group label .h6, just like we did on the other ones up there. And we'll say previous address in here. We'll say input.form-control. And we'll name this one previous address. Yeah, that sounds good. So just like we did up here, let's go ahead and we'll just copy everything that's on here. So current address, so we need to go from city down. And then we're going to need to change a couple of other little things. But for now, we'll just copy that. All right. Okay. So now we'll go back up to the top here, previous address. We just need to prefix all of these with our word previous. Okay. Oops. Let's actually just copy this right up to there. And we'll just paste all of that in. I don't know why I have name in here. Oh, probably because, so that probably exists up here too. Yeah, okay. All right, previous zip code, previous rent own, previous monthly payment. How long at residence, previous monthly payment. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So we got all that coming in now. Now what we'll do is we'll do some employment information for them. So again, H5, we'll center that text, and we'll give ourselves some margin on the top. We don't need to do that, and we'll say employer information, because typically they need that. And let's go ahead and grab this. Let's not grab that one, actually. We'll just create a new one. Form-group. Label, again, H6. And it'll be, we'll say current employer. And we'll say input.form-control. And the name of this tag is going to be, we'll just say employer. Okay. Let's actually just copy this. So current employer, so we're going to need to know the employer's address. Okay. All right, if you heard my son, I hope you got a chuckle out of that. All right, employer address, probably want to know how long they were with the employer. So this one's going to look a lot like the how long at residence one. So we'll create a row in here, column 6. We do need to put a label up here still. This label will be how long at employer. And just like we did up there, we'll put some years, we'll put some months. So we'll say label dot H6. We'll say years. Type equals number. Form control. And the name is going to be years at employer. Like so. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little far ahead of myself here. We need to copy this down. We need to say months. And in here, I'm just going to put a max equal to 11, because if it's 12 months, it's a year. So we'll say months at employer. All right, great. We're probably going to want to know some contact details for the employer. So in this case, we'll say phone. And we will give this a name equal to employer underscore phone. Okay. Label H6. Want to know probably their email. Type needs to equal email. And name needs to equal employer underscore email. All right. Group, we'll say label dot H6. All right, and we'll say fax. Input.form-control, and then this will be name of employer underscore fax. That way. So hopefully, if you're new to this, even the framework of Bootstrap, or a little bit new to HTML, hopefully this is giving you, some practice in terms of, adding fields, removing fields, kind of customizing it to what you need it to be. So we'll say this is a city, control, and the name will be employer city. H6 again, and we'll say state, zip code for the other ones. State. Great. Group, and this one will be zip code. Alright, so you see I made a little mistake up here. It would be a conflict. It would actually show as an array of values in our request, as you might see. Okay, and while I was so eager to fix that mistake, I made another mistake. Okay, there we go. So hopefully you caught that. Hopefully one of us is paying attention. .h6. Probably going to want to know what their position is of their employer, right? Control, and then we'll say name equals employer underscore position. Again, form group in here, label.h6, and we'll see, okay, well, what is their annual salary? And in here we'll go input dot dash control. Type will give it equal to number, because the salary is going to be a number. And the name we will give it will be annual salary. Okay. And that should pretty much do it for employers. So let's do the emergency context, for example. So we'll do some margin top of 3 in there, and we'll say emergency contact. I mean, I know it's been a while since I filled out a rental contract, but I remember they were typically quite long, because then you would put your co-signer, or not your co-signer, but if you're married or had a significant other or roommates or whatever, you put their information in as well. So you could go in, you could do this manually now or at the end, as you see how everything actually pulls together here. So emergency contact, that'll be simple. That'll just be like name for them. Input.form dash control, and we'll say name will be underscore name. All right. .h6. We'll do an address. Underscore address. All right, great. Group label is going to be, we'll say city. Name will equal city. Sorry. Contact city. Great. City, we'll say state. control name. Score state. Okay. Six. What else would we have? Zip code. Form control, and then name will be emergency zip code, emergency contact zip code. All right, great. And then we'll probably want to do the actual contact information for them. So we'll say phone. And we'll give this a name of emergency contact phone. Great. Okay. Last item, probably want to know what the relationship is. So we'll say relationship. And we probably should specify that this person can't be residing with them. Let's put that up here. Could not be residing with you. Okay. Let's say input dot emergency contact relationship. Okay, so that should be it for the emergency contact. Now we definitely want to provide a place for them to provide their references. So let's create a little section here for references. Text-center, and again, some margin top of 3. And we'll say references. Okay. Dash group. We want to do multiple references. So let's say let's put an H6 in there. And we'll say first reference. All right. And then in here, we'll do the name and the phone side by side. And then we'll do, well, no, we'll do them on their own line. .h6. And this will be name, input, form dash control. Name is going to equal reference underscore 1 underscore name. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Dot H6. Let's see here. All right, now we'll add the phone number for them. And the name will be reference 1 name. All right. Dash group. We're going to put a label H6. We'll say address. And that'll be an input, the class of form control, with a name of sorry, not reference 2, reference 1 address. Okay, great. Okay, now we can put in, we'll do an H6 again, and we'll say second reference, and this group. This is real shorthand. We can actually put out a number of these ones in here. We're going to do form control, and then that would be a name equal to reference _2_name. Okay, so sometimes it doesn't format the way I'd like it to, but that's always an option, right? And this one should have been put in as a sibling. That's okay. Okay. And that would be, again, name. All right, perfect. We can actually just take this. We can copy this down. All right, so name, phone, address. We just need to switch out these to show the number 2. All right. And I think that's it for our application here. So all we need to do now is provide a button. And in that button, we'll just say submit application. All right. Great. Okay, let's take a look at what everything looks like now. So I'm going to refresh this page. Great. Nice image. And we go down and we can see fill out an application. And we got our application in here. So name, date of birth, SSN, phone, current address, blah, blah, blah. Emergency contact. So it doesn't look entirely bad, considering it's just something we just threw together, right? Button dash primary. Okay, so I'm missing this. It has to be btn and btn dash primary, and then you'll see a blue button appear at the bottom. And you know what? I'm going to give ourselves a little bit of margin on the top here. Let's see. How does that look? Yeah, so that looks great. If I click on this, we get an error because there is no post route for this, but we do want to do a post route for this. So let's go and look at how we can manage our post routes. We'll go back out to properties here because this is where we are going to be putting our routes. And we'll say router.post in this case, and we'll say properties. But we're going to keep this part dynamic, and we'll say building in here. So basically, it's going to make this form reusable, a little more reusable as we make things more dynamic. So request, pass through the request and the response. And now what we need to do is, I'm just going to set it up so that we can actually display the data that comes through. So there's a couple of things that we need to do to make that happen. One, I think all I need to do is just add URL encoded to that, and that captures everything I really need. So we'll go back to app here. We'll say app.use. App.use, and we'll say express URL. Yeah, you can see it automatically populates for me in there. Okay. So that's great how that works in there. We'll save that. And okay, let's see how this looks. First of all, what we'll do is we'll just send a response with the JSON in there from the request. So it's just going to be basically request body. In there, then that should display it. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll go back to the other page here, refresh, and we'll just start entering in some information in here. So I'll enter my information. Oh, one other thing. Okay, so date of birth here, we actually need to add date back on that form. So yellow gold buildings, we need to come back here. We'll say residence, date of birth. So this type here needs to be date. If you caught that, kudos. Good job. Refresh. Okay, great. Now you can see we actually have some date fields that we can put in there. Okay. So I'm not going to enter in all the information just for making things brief here. We'll say I was born 2 weeks ago. Okay. All right, and then you can enter in other details as well in there all the way down. Now what you can see here is this is all the data that was submitted. We're basically just returning that data back. So you can see it comes through with everything that we put through. So reference 1 name, I guess there's a little mistake there. Reference 2 name, I don't know why I have 2 of those. Let's go back to our form and check on what's going on there. So that's all the way down at the bottom. So it's actually passing through as an array, and we don't want that. Okay, so reference 1 name, this needs to be phone, and then this one here needs to be phone as well. Again, if you caught that, good job. Let's go back. All right, let's see what happens if we submit this again. Yeah, okay, good. So now that looks good. So we got the name, date of birth, SSN, phone. This is enough data for us to go ahead and move to our next step, which is going to be setting up the email on there. So to start with, we'll come back here. We don't really need anything in there for now. Properties, we don't need anything to do. Main, index, no. So we'll keep this pretty minimal. But what we're going to do is I'm going to create myself an object to help manage application stuff. So we'll call this application, and I'm going to go require. What should I do? Require. We'll say source application .js application. Okay. Pardon me. Okay, so you can see we don't have anything in there right now, so we have to create that. So we'll go file, source, application.js. Okay, now you can see that actually loads properly. Let's go back to properties here. So you can see here we go down a directory. That's what the double dots stand in there for. And then we access the source directory and application.js. So let's create an export. And this one will be application. And we'll make this equal to an object. And I want to add in here, basically, I want the ability to print out my stuff as return a string for the HTML. So this is how this will look. Well, let's go back to properties. We need to basically format an HTML message to then send via mail. I'm actually going to back up a second here. We have that in place. What we should really be doing is setting up our mailer. And so this is going to take kind of 2 steps for us here. One, we need to install a package, which is Node Mailer. So let's go ahead, open up another one there. We'll say npm install Node Mailer. Sorry, no. Great. Okay, so Node Mailer is installed now. That's great. Now what we can do is we can bring that in. Node Mailer. Great. And we need to configure some things here with our mailer. So let's we'll say let transport equal create transport. Okay, we got some configuration options we need to do. So we're going to use MailTrap. It's just a simple little mail server that allows us to send messages that never actually go out. It just traps the mail, but it basically sets it up so that you can see that the application is actually working for us. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to enter in my information for MailTrap, and then I'm going to change the password and the username after this video. or I might just blur it out. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. All right. So your username and password is going to be different, but let's go. I'll take you over to that site now, to mailtrap.io. So I'm here at the website, mailtrap.io. It's a free service. You get, like, I think it's 50 mails a day or 50 mails a month. I'm sure it's 50 mails a day, which for a solo developer freelance, that's plenty enough. You'll just go sign up now, and then once you've signed up, once you've gone through that process, then of course you can go and you can log in. So I'm going to go and I'm going to log into my account here. Okay, so I've logged in, and what you'll do is you'll click on Add Inbox. If you're using the free tier, you only get one inbox. That's okay. You can use it for testing in all your applications, which will be fine. Now you're going to go over to Sandbox, and then in Sandbox you're going to see some of your credentials here. So we want to take a look at our credentials. So let's see where we get our, oh no, sorry, go SMTP, show credentials. And then in here is where you're going to see your username and you're going to see your password in there. So, all right. So I hope that makes sense. But this basically is where you're going to put user, what's in there, and then you're going to put password. So let's go back to, well, actually, we don't need to go back to our application. We'll stay here. Let's go ahead and finish our configuration. So properties. So down in here, we're going to set up to send our mail and whatnot. So for now, what I want to do is we'll get rid of this. We don't need this right now. But we want to compose our message. So message is going to equal, and then we'll put in our from. So in this case, we'll just say from Tyson@email.com. We'd probably just mail it to ourselves because, yeah, that's what we want to do. And then we'll do subject, and we'll say new application submitted for, and then in here we're going to enter in our params. So in this case, it's going to be the request params that are coming in, because that's within the URL, right? Params.building. That's building in here is going to access what was put up here for our URL parameters that way. Okay, so now we know what building they're setting it for, so we're creating some dynamic aspects to this. Of course, for an application like this, you'd want to make it far more dynamic than it actually is. But in here, we need to compose our HTML message. So what I want to do in this case is I'll reference application, which is the node module we're referencing there, and I'm just going to say format HTML body, and I'll pass through in there request.body. And this is just going to return it to us as HTML. But we need to, of course, add that in here. So the method that we need is that. Okay, I'm just going to go body in this case. And we can start, basically we can start doing this in here. So let's create a message for ourselves. We're going to use the template syntax. And within the template syntax, we'll say, well, first of all, we do need to return this. Okay, and we'll start with an h1 tag, and we'll say new application submitted. And one other thing we could probably pass in there is the building. So let's pass in the building name on here as well. And all we need to do is basically copy this. All right, so now we have it in the message, so we could easily print this off. And we can say building in here. Now, we can start to add their details. So we'll do this as an H5, and we'll just add a bunch of them in here. So basically all you do is you go over to here, I'm not going to copy everything. I'm just going to do like the first 5 or 6, because then you can actually go in there and you can add the rest yourself. So I'll add name, date of birth, SSN, and phone. So we'll say name, and DOB, SSN, phone. Okay, now we're going to access what's on the body. And we do that by, we'll say name. So you can tell what's in the body already, because that's what we're displaying right here. So it'll be body.name, body.date of birth, body.ssn, etc., etc. So that'll make things nice and easy for you. Okay, so we need to say date of birth, SSN, all lowercase for that one, and then phone. Okay, now let's go back to our properties router here. We've got the message in and everything. Now all we need to do is send the email. Okay, pass through our message first, our message object. We'll say error, info, and very simply we'll just log out if there's any kind of an error or something. Then we'll know what that is. So I'll log. Oops. Info. All right. Now after that's done, what I want to do is I want to basically re-render our last page, but this time I want to send through a variable that is going to enable us to tell them, hey, we've submitted an application. So we'll say in this case, we'll say properties plus, we'll want to make this dynamic again, so we'll want to pull in the request parameter of the building. So let's copy this. Okay. I guess I don't need to do that. We'll say rec dot. What happened in there? Oh, it looks like I made a couple little issues. Okay, let's try this. Rec dot params dot building. I don't know what happened. That is odd. But we'll say rec dot params dot building. Okay, there we go. Still something not 100% right here. Okay, now we need to send through what we're going to use for our layout, which in this case is going to be index. And I'm going to want to create a variable called submitted, and we'll set that to true. Now what we need to do is we do need to go back to our view here, the properties, yellow gold buildings, and we need to add a little something in here, maybe at the beginning. Yeah, we'll add it right here. It'll be an alert. So alert dash success, and we'll say strong, and then in here we'll say successfully submitted application. Okay, we'll be in touch shortly. But we only want this to display under this condition. So if submitted actually gets passed through. If it shows as undefined or null, then yeah, we don't want to, nor do we need to see it. So, all right. So let's see here. Submitted. Come back to properties. Okay, everything should be good in here. HTML body. Let's go back up to application, format HTML body, body building. We're returning that string. Okay, great. Okay, let's go back here. I'm just going to refresh the page. Okay, great. It says the yellow gold building, fill out an application successfully submitted. Let's go back here. We'll see what happened. It says it was accepted. That's the response that was returned to us. And let's go to mail trap and we'll see, okay, perfect. New application submitted for yellow gold building. New application submitted, and everything works in there as it should. So I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below, and I will try to get to them as soon as I can. And yeah, but that's basically how that works. So have a good one.